Hello, Walter. Great game today. Okay, let's get started. We are on Pei Gimel 83. If somebody's sick, the Mishnah said that an expert, a doctor, has to determine whether the choyle should be fed or not on Yom Kippur. The sick person says, I need to eat. The doctor says he doesn't. We listen to the choyle even though the doctor said he doesn't need it. My time, Lev yodeya moras nafshoy. A person's heart knows his own personal anguish more than the doctor. So the Gemara says pshita. The same roy for kim leitfei. Maybe there's a havamina to say no. The doctor would know more. Kamash balan that no. Roy for tzarich. The choyle omer ein tzarich. If the doctor says he needs to eat, and the choyle says he doesn't need to eat, Sharmin la we feed him based on the roifa. My time, Tunbu de nokitle, because the sick person, it's affected his mental status. He can't make the decision properly, so we listen to the doctor. The Mishnah said, a sick person, we feed him based on the recommendations of the expert. Al pi b'kiyin in. So al pi atzmo lo, that seems to imply we don't listen to him. Or also al pi b'kiyin in, b'kiyin is plural. Al pi baki echad lo, which seems to imply one doctor, it's not enough. Hachma iskinon, the omer lo yitzrichna. Here we're talking about a special case. The cholah said he doesn't need, and then you need then you need bekiyin to say that he does need. V'leis v'le al pi baki. Why do we need two? Why not one? So technically, you could get away with one, but lo tzricha de'kachrina ba'dei. We're talking about a case where there were other doctors that say he doesn't need. Then you'd need two bekiyin to contradict the other two that say that he doesn't. So then it says machin lo sa pi bekiyin. If the experts say he has to eat, we feed him. So the Gemara says pshita. I mean, that's a davar pashut. Safik nefashos. This is a matter of life and death. Safik nefashos lahakil. We always are lenient when it's a safik nefashos. So lo tzricha diketreachrina ba'dei dami loitzar. We have two doctors that say he does not need. And then you have two doctors that say he does need. We listen to the two doctors that he says. Once you have two, it's like 100. That's Hanamilinian Edus regarding Mominus, Avalinian Undina. But regarding an estimation, then we go Basar Deos Azlina. If the people who estimate that the guy needs it, for example, let's say there's one, if it's 1 against 2, we follow the plurality. That's when you have a case of money. But this is Safik Nefashos, which shouldn't have anything to do. Once you have two doctors who say yes, no matter what, even if you have 100 against it, we would feed him based on that testimony. We have the Seif of the Mishnah said, if there are no doctors there, and the chola says himself, I need to eat, so, but it implies that the Reisha was also a case where he said, I need to eat. There's words missing, and this I have to read the Mishnah. That we machilim al pi b'ki, and that's the Amar lo tzarchani. When he says when the Chol says I don't need to eat, then we listen to the two doctors to feed him. Aval Amar tzarchani. Let's say he says I don't need. Ein sham bikiyin trei el echad adam lo tzarich. There are no two experts who say he needs it. You have one that says he doesn't need it. Machil nosal piatzmo. So then, if he goes against the one, he can, where he says I need to eat, then we feed him. If you have one person, Chola says I need to eat, you have 100 doctors that say he does not, we listen to him. Tanan, we learn a Mishnah, Mein Sham Bikiyin. There's no experts. If he says I need to eat, we feed him. Time of the Leka Bikiyin. But it seems to imply that's only when there's no doctors. It could be key and low. If there are doctors who, for example, go against it, and we listen to the bikiyin and not him, or says that's only where the doctors say he needs to eat and he says I don't need to eat. Then we feed him based on the doctors. But if the choil himself says I need to eat, then ein sham bikiyin klal machilos al piatzmo. There's no experts to dispute it. We said even if there are experts who dispute it, we would feed him as well. Mishnah. Mishach zo bulmus. Bulmus is a deep hunger that you can't withstand. You got to feed the person. You can feed him even non-kosher things, even on Yom Kippur. Ad until his eyes light up. We'll see what that means. If he's been bit by a rabid dog, there used to be some kind of skula where they would feed the liver of the dog to the person who was bit by the rabid dog. But the Chachamim disagreed with that. Rav Masya ben Choresh Matir, Rav Masya allowed it. Rav Masya ben Choresh. The person has like a sore throat. So matilin lo sam besoch piv b'Shabbos. Even though on Shabbos you're not allowed to have refuah, but this is a suffix nefashos, and you could put some kind of medicine into his mouth. The neshu suffix nefashos. His throat could close up. He could stop breathing. The suffix nefashos doiches Shabbos. Any suffix of a life-threatening problem is doiches Shabbos. And the famous case, Misha Nafal Lav Mapoilas, a house fell on a person. We don't know what his status is. He's buried. Safek Usham, Safek Eino Sham. We don't even know if he's there. Safek Chai, Safek Meis. He might be alive, he might be dead. Safek Nachri, Safek Israel. There's Jews there, there's non-Jews there. Mefachin Alavis Agal. On Shabbos, you're allowed to dig them up and remove all the stones and try, even though it's a malach on Shabbos. And we'll see, there's a whole machlokas. Do you start from his feet or do you start from his head? Like, do you want to get to his heart to see if his heart's beating, or do you want to get to his nose to see? And that's the whole concept of brain death versus cardiac death. But that we'll deal with later. This is just the heter that you can violate Shabbos to dig him out. Mitzau Chai, if they file him alive, you can continue mafachin. You can continue to dig him out completely. But the imeis yanuchu, if you find that he's not alive, you leave him there. There's no chi of klal. There's no chi of violating Shabbos because of kovad abrius, kovad ameis, right? You'll find him the Motzei Shabbos and start dealing with his kavura. But that kovad ameis is not a reason to violate Shabbos.
Do you have to, Ernie, do you have to actually know that the body is there, or even if you don't know that the body is there?
And if you don't know the body is there, the Mishnah said
you don't know that the body is there.
Safek husham, safek eino sham.
Okay.
You don't know he's there. You let's say
it's unfortunately similar like in Florida now.
Like in Florida, you don't know. We know there's an address. People live there. We don't know whether the person is there or not there. You're allowed to be mafak Mefachin
Yeah.
alav asagal. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Torah Bono. Minana yoidin she'irena. It says somebody who has a bulmus, you feed him until his eyes light up. So what's that? What does that mean? Mishiyavkin ben tov l'ra. For example, you give him good food, you give him bad food. If he doesn't understand the concept of rotten food versus good food, his eyes have not lit up yet. So you got to feed him until he can understand between good food and bad food. And we're talking about uvitaima, that it's not just looking at it, but tasting it. He can tell that it's spoiled. Tarabonon. Mishachzo bulmus, they have this hunger. So first of all, machilin oso kalakal. So first you start with light food, and you give him as little as possible to satisfy him. And regarding isurim, you give him something that's less usur than something else. For example, tevel unavela, a dead animal that has not been shechted. So if you eat that, that's a lav, which gives you malchus. Now, if you have produce that trumas and maestros have not been taken from it, that's tevel, so it's misa b'dei shamayim. So if you have the choice to feed this person tevel nevela, you give him nevela, machiloso nevela. Tevel shvius. Shvius is also just a lav. You feed him shvius. Now, tevel and truma, they both have misa b'dei shamayim. If a non-Kohen, for example, eats truma, so that's a tanoi. That's a machlokes tanoi. The Tanya. The Tanakama holds machil noso tevel. You feed him produce that you haven't taken trumas and maisus from. Ve'ein machil noso truma. You don't give him truma. Ben tema oimer truma v'loy tevel. And Ben tema says you give him truma, not tevel. Now, if you have chulin, everybody holds you give trumas and maestros of the chulin, and you feed him with that. That's the best. You can't. You don't have chulin. You only have tevel and truma. Marsav tevel chamur. Tevel is worse. Marsav truma chamur. Marsav tevel chamur aval truma chazi l'koyim. The reason why it's worse because at least a truma you can feed to a kohen. A tevel nobody can eat. Marsav truma chamur. Truma is more chamur. There's no heter for a non-kohen to eat it. Aval tevel efshel takune, but tevel you can go ahead and give trumas and maisus from it and make it okay. So the Gemara doesn't understand efshel b'chulin pshita when it said, oh, if you have chulin, give him chulin. Well, of course you give him chulin. Lotzricha b'Shabbos. We're talking about Shabbos where you're not allowed to give trumas and maestros. So b'Shabbos nami pshita. Well, that would be a davar pashut, because tiltul, the fact that that's only rabbanon. To separate trumas and maestros, and that's so. It certainly would be less than to eat tevel. We're talking about a flower pot that doesn't have a hole, where the chiyuv to give trumas and maestros is only rabbanon. Marsav tevel chamur, to feed tevel is still chamur. Umarsav truma chamura, and against that he holds that truma would be more chamur to feed him. So lema tanoi, maybe it's a continues to be machlokes tanoi b'Tanya. Misha nashchon nachash. Person is bitten by a snake. Karan loy roifem imakam lamakom. On Shabbos, you can bring a doctor from a far distant place. Umakaran lo satarnago, you can shech the chicken. The guys is in low esacration. you can prepare some kind of onion, which was a malach on Shabbos, but you could do it because it's a suffix nefashos. You can feed him even tevel. You shouldn't eat it until you give trumas and maestros. So is that this machloikes who holds that tevel is chomer? Name Rabbi Lozer Rabbi Shimon evil Rabbi? Or is it afilu temi Rabbi? Ad can come Rabbi also by a not snake or by a otzitz, because leinya meister yarak drabanan. The whole thing is only rabbinic. Aval b'meister dogon, but regular produce the tevel deraisu afilu Rabbi moideh. The ishoris leibata shein naku vas lemechel bata shu naku. That he'll say don't feed tevel even from an otzit shein naku, because he eats from that kind of flower pot. He'll eat from a flower pot that has a hole in it, which is connected to the ground, and then it becomes tevel bin deraisa, so that we don't want to do. Ton Rabbanon, mishach zo bumus. Someone has this hunger. Machilon so dvash v'chominei mentika. Give him honey and sweets. Shadvash v'chominei mentika meirin me'oreinav shel adam. This will light up his eyes. Val b'shen raylo davers echlad avaruna ki oru enai ki ta'amtem ad dvash hazeh. My eyes have lit up because I've tasted from the honey. Umay aval b'shen raylo davar, because the husband loved bulmus achzeh. That was not a case of bulmus. Amra by loishan alach rachila. Giving him honey is after he's eaten regular food. Aval kodem achila, don't give him honey. Megargars make him hungrier. D'chsi vayim suish mitri basadeh. Vaychu osol David. Vaytnu lo lechem vayochav vayshtiku mayim. Vaytnu lo pelach tvelu shnei tzimuk vayochav atoshav ruch leilav. Ki lo ochal lechem v'lo shosam mayim shlosh yamim shlosh leilos. So you give the dvash after you give him regular food. It should be savory. You give him a piece of fatty tail that's been cooked in honey, like like honey garlic spare ribs. Fine flour with honey, like a good oatmeal. Even barley flour with honey. I had this bulmus. I went east to Te'ena. Wisdom kept me alive because I knew figs were like they were ripe. And I went in that direction because the sun is there and it causes the figs to ripen early. That's why I ran east of the figs, because there it was quite ripe. The time Rav Yosef, you want to taste a good fig? Go east. Where the sun rises in the east, so that the figs are going to be riper there. They were traveling. Rabbi Yehuda was struck with bulmus. He forced a shepherd to give him this piece of bread. You forced him and you took his bread from him. They got to the city, Rabbi Yossi, who was traveling with Rabbi Yehuda. And now Rabbi Yossi got the bulmus. Adru Balage Vitsoy. So they surrounded him with all sorts of plates and cups of sweet things. He didn't have to force anybody, they brought him the food. I forced the shepherd, but you had the whole city come in and you forced the whole city to come and take care of you. And there's other stories about travel. Visu Rav Meir, Rav Yudi, Rav Yosef, they were traveling. Rav Meir knew the secrets of people's names. Rav Yudi, Rav Yosef, they didn't have that knowledge. They came to a certain place. They needed a hotel. Yavaluhu. So they came to a hotel. Amrlo, they went to the innkeeper, Mashim, Amrlo, Kidor. Told him his name is Kidor. Omar, so Reb Meir, who understood names, understood Shmamina Adam Rashahu. It's an evil person. Shenamar, Kidor Tapuchos Hema. It's an upside down world. So Kidor is like that. Now, Rav Yehuda Shlimu Kisayu. Rav Yehuda, Rav Yossi gave the innkeeper their purse with money to watch. Rav Meir lo ashrim like he said. Rav Meir did not. Also, usve bekiver davua is chazile bechilmei. Rav Meir put it near the kever of this father of the innkeeper. And as chazile bechalmei. So the father of the innkeeper appeared in his dream, To shakal kisa de manach haresha du gavra, and told him, go get the money that's sitting there on my grave. So he said to the Chachamim, this is what appeared in my dream. It was Friday night. They told him dreams of Friday night that don't come true. You don't have to rely on them. Still, also Rav Meir v'natri kula yom v'aisei. Rav Meir went. I guess this was the innkeeper who had the dream. And Rav Meir, when he heard the dream, went and watched his purse the whole time. L'macha amru lo havlon kison. So the Rabbi Yehuda told the innkeeper, give us our purse. You never gave it to me. And of course, they were trustworthy. They didn't make him sign a note or something. But Rav Meir was not trustworthy because of his name. He knew he was a bad guy. So Rav Meir asked Rabbi Yehuda, how come you weren't careful with his name? That he's an Adam Rasha. How come you didn't tell us? I had a chashash he was an evil person. To say that he's a chazaka, that he's an Adam Rasha, I didn't have yet. Mashku v'ailu lechanusa. They put him in. They went into the store. Chazu talfachash asfame. They saw there were lentil beans on his mustache. So they went to the wife of the innkeeper and gave him a simon that I guess he has lentils there. And she commanded her husband to give him back the money.
No, they gave him wine to drink, it says.
No, adoshim is lentils. Lentils. So that was a simon that they saw that he had lentils on his mustache. Now, also so the innkeeper killed his wife because he got upset that the wife had given up the beans, that he has to give the money back. Hainu de Tanya, Mayim Rishonim Hechilu Psar Chazir. There was a certain innkeeper who would give Goyim pork, but he would give Jews kosher meat. And he would tell whether or not, if they wash their hands prior to eating. Once there was a Jew came and ate without washing his hands. And the innkeeper had given him pork. So that's the example where Mayim Rishonim caused a Jew to eat pork. Mayim Achroinim, right, where you wash your hands and your mouth after you eat, caused the case Garmush Orgus Nefesh, caused somebody to die. Because of this case of the lentil beans. If the guy would have washed his mouth, they wouldn't have seen the lentil beans on his mustache.
Only it still says in the beginning, it says they gave him to drink. That's why they were able to see the lentil beans. They gave him to drink. They gave him wine. That's what happened. Then they saw when they gave him
Then they
wine,
saw
they
the
opened
lentil
up his
beans.
mouth and they saw lentil beans. It's not they gave him lentil beans.
No,
Okay.
they saw later on that there were lentil beans on his mustache.
Yeah, but they didn't give him. They gave him to drink wine so that they could see.
Kimatalu besa deshma bala. They came to a certain house where the balabais was called Bolo, and then they didn't go in. Laila gabe. Amishmami no Rashu. They understood by his name there's a Rosh Chsiv, v'arma labala noyafim, adulterers. V'achrei bloisia shali adnak. That means, so he knew right away that Zakena ben Ufim, that they were involved in adultery. Okay, we'll stop here, and because we're going to learn the Navi Shir.
Okay,
I'm going to sign off, and we'll sign on again so we can tape the new Shir.
Don't forget to shut it off. To stop it.
I did. I said stop video.
Okay.